Hello folks, welcome back to the channel. I got a request the other day for a telekinesis ability, so today we'll be setting up the ability to pick up objects, move them around with the scroll wheel, drop them, or toss them. So we'll set it up in a way that will allow us to do the same thing with enemy meshes. So we'll be able to pick them up or throw them away. Team Rocket blasting off again. There's a little bit to do, but it's not too complicated, but let's dive into it. So I've got a new project set up. It's a third-person template, but I'm going to make it first-person by opening our third-person character. I'm going to delete that real quick. Then I'm going to go to the viewport, grab my follow camera, and attach it to the mesh. Then I'm going to delete the camera boom because we don't really need it. With the camera selected, I'm going to set its location to 0, 10, and 160. Just because I like the way it frames the face up. It puts it about the right area. But you can put it really wherever you want. This will even work with the regular third person, but I'm just doing it this way. Under camera options, I'm going to set use pawn control rotation. Under mesh, I'm going to set hidden in game. And under character movement, I'm going to go down to the rotation settings and tick the use controller desired rotation and untick the orient rotation to movement. This will keep it to where our player faces the direction the camera and the mouse is without trying to move around underneath it. Now we'll add two components, one being a static mesh, and this will be called the held object slot. It's so that when we pick up our items, we have something to attach it to. And with this selected, we'll add another component called a physics constraint. You want to make sure this one is bound to the camera and this one to the held object slot. Now for the mesh of our static mesh, I'm going to set it to a material sphere. I'm going to set its scale to about 0.1 across the board and its collision to custom. And I'm just going to set it to ignore all collision responses. But we want its collision enabled query and physics. We want to make sure that's available, so that's why we do it this way. The location doesn't matter. We're going to update that when we do our line trace. So our now let's set up the physics constraint because we need to give it a little extra power. So under linear limits, we want to set it all to free. Same thing with angular limits. They should already be, but just in case they're not. Under the linear motor, we want to tick all of these boxes. And for the strength of the first one, we'll set it to 1,000, and the strength of the second one to 100. That way the motor has a bit more power to pick it up. Now the angular drive motor, we want to change it to twist and swing. Check both of those on both levels, and set the strength to the same. 100. Okay, now he's ready to go. So let's set up a cube real quick. So back in our blueprints folder, I'm going to right click, create a blueprint class of an actor. Call it cube underscore BP. Because we'll set up the cube first and then the character side after. So I'm going to add a static mesh component. I'm going to make it a 1 meter cube and just drag it up so that whatever you use, you want it to be on the grid, because the grid represents the floor and where it'll interact with this. So with that done, we want to set it to simulate physics and make sure that the collision updated to physics actor. Other than that, that's pretty much all we need to do. Okay, so now in our I'll go ahead and drag a few of those out. Now in our third person character, in its event graph where we deleted the touch input, I'll right click and create a function for right mouse button. Then I'll add a branch, drag off the condition and promote it to a variable called can_tk question mark. The reason I drag it off here instead of setting it up over here is because you want this one to be defaulted to true. And when you do it this way, it is. The next variable we'll set up be another boolean that we want defaulted to false called is holding. Because we'll make it to where you can pick it up and drop it with the same button. So I'll drag this out and get it just to compile, make sure that it's false. So we'll add another branch, B left click, And if we are not holding, then we want to do line trace for objects to see if there's anything in front of us that we can hold. So I'll drag out my follow camera, get the world location, the forward vector, vector plus vector off the world location, vector times float off the forward vector, plug this to the bottom side of that, and this to the end, the world location to the start, and I'm going to set it up for about 1,000, gives us a decent range to work with. Okay, now for the object types, I'm going to drag off and make an array. I'm going to add a pin because we need two. The first one will be physics body and the second one will be pawn. Now we'll break our hit result from our line trace, add a branch, crap, and if it's a blocking hit, meaning it hits something that is one of these types, then we'll drag off the hit actor and find out if it has a tag. So actor has tag enemy, which we're going to add to our enemy blueprint when we get ready. So if it's a blocking hit, we'll check for the actor has tag, and if it doesn't, meaning it's one of the cubes that we're setting up, then we will get the hit component, because cubes are a component, and promote it to a variable called held item. We'll hook that to the false. Then we will get its world location and set, then we'll grab out our held object slot and set its world location to where our held item is at, because we're going to need to bind it through the physics constraint. So we will drag out our physics constraint and we will set constrained components. And the first constrained component will be our held object slot, so I'll drag out one more of those just because I don't like wires crossing over too much. Then I'll come back to our hit component, hook it up to component 2, and the hit bone name to the bone name. And I'll drag all this up a little bit. Close enough. Just kind of tidy it up a little bit. Okay. Oh, and then we'll set is holding true. Oh, and tick teleport, so it doesn't try to calculate the mass along the way, it just boom is there. Now if they are holding, which they will be now, we want to drag out our physics constraint and break it. So break constraint. Then we'll drag out is holding and set it to false. So let's test that out real quick. We'll set that thing's visibility to false in a minute. So that's working. So we'll go back, get our held object slot, and set is hidden in game as well. So just to make sure. Good deal. Okay, so now we need to be able to pick up an enemy. So I'll create a blueprint class of a character, call it enemy_BP. Open it up. For the mesh, I'm going to set it to our mannequin. Drop it down 90. Was that 90? That's 80. And then rotate it 90. So that the arrow lines up towards the front. Compile that. We'll delete these two in the event graph. In the begin play, we're going to cast to third person character. Get player character. And promote that to a variable. Player ref for reference. Okay. Oh, under, I think it's the self, we'll add it. We'll type in tag to the details panel, and we'll add our enemy tag. Okay. So now when we hit it, it'll register appropriately. So that's all we need to do for that right now. Well, I'll apply the, in its blueprint, go back to the mesh, disable that, and for set anim class of the animation blueprint, just use the third person anim BP. Then what we want to do is create a blueprint interface. Call it TK underscore BPI. This will be what launches our enemy when we have them picked up. So the function will be called launch. Compile. And in the enemy blueprint, go to class settings and add that interface. You need to do the same thing to this character. Oh, class settings. Add the interface TK. That way they can both communicate with that blueprint. Okay. So in our line trace, if the actor does have the tag of enemy, then we want to drag off and promote this to a variable, the hit actor this time, called TK target. Where did it go? There it is. So I'll hook it up like that. I'm not going to worry about it right now. Then we want to grab out our held object slot and set its world location. We can actually just grab this, Control C, Control V. Then we don't need to constrain the components because the actor doesn't have the components. Oh. From the target you want to get the actor location, not world location. My bad. Compile real quick. So then we will set that they are holding, and we need to create another boolean called actor so that they are holding the actor or an actor. Then we need to right click, create a custom event called holding actor, and we'll do a branch. Grab out our actor boolean, and if true, then we will set actor location. The target will be our TK target, and the location will be our held object slot, its world location, so that when we move this around with the camera, it moves the TK target or the actor that we get in. So after this, we'll do a retriggerable delay for about 0.01 seconds. You want it pretty quick so that it doesn't have that glitchy falling effect. And then we will, in our event graph right here, drag out our holding actor and call it again. That way it runs through as long as this is true. Now up here on released, we want to set actor back to false. That way, no matter what they're holding, it'll set this to false, which won't have any issue. So compile that real quick. Oh, in the enemy BP, we gotta set something. No, that should be. That should be pulling it. Set world location to that actor's location. Oh, stupid. Alright, at the end of the, where we set actor to true, we actually have to call that function or else it ain't gonna do nothing. Sorry, this is like the 6th time I've tried to record this today. My brain's a little bit fried right now. But there we go. 0.01 is not short enough. So down in its function, I'll set it to 0.001. There we go. That looks decent. So now we can pick everything up, but we need to be able to chunk it and move it towards or away from us. So in the enemy BP, I'm going to call that launch, add event launch. And what we'll do here is launch character. Target is self. The launch will tick these real quick. And the direction we want to launch, we will grab out our player reference, get the follow camera. Might have to scroll down, usually does this for some reason. We will get its forward vector. Back this up. Times vector times float. And I'm gonna set it to something crazy, like, what was that, 100,000? We'll try that out. Now in the third person character, I'm gonna just box select this, holding actor, box select this. You can comment box out things with box selecting it and then hitting C. So this is TK ability. It just makes it a lot easier. If in case you need room, instead of having to box select what you need, you just move the whole thing. Okay, so I'm gonna right click and create a left mouse button event. Add a branch, B left click, and find out if I'm holding something. If true, if I am holding something, I want to see what it is. Is it an actor? If false, then we want to add impulse at location. The location being the held object slot. So we'll hook that to false. Drag this back, get world location for the location of the impulse. And for the impulse, let's see, how much did I use last time? Oh, 1 million, okay. That reminded me though, we need to do one thing here between here. We need to break the constraint, otherwise it's not going to allow it to be thrown. So break that constraint real quick. Then from the get world location, we'll get the forward. No. That wasn't right. Hang on. I'm sorry. Add impulse, follow camera. Oh, that's the impulse. Oh, I guess it's not add impulse at location. That's right. We'll just grab out the held object slot. Add impulse. Then we can delete that. Grab the follow camera, get forward vector, then it's float times float, or vector times float, excuse me. I'm just gonna make it a crazy number again, 1 million or something. And hook it up like that. And set that we are not holding anything, including an actor. So set both of those back to false. So that should set it up to where we can launch a cube now. Oh, stupid me. We don't want to launch that. We want to add it to the held item. Ugh. Yeah, alright. So not the held object slot, the held item that we attached to that slot. My bad. Just drag all this down, give us more room. Now if we are holding an actor, then we want to get all actors with interface. The interface being the TK, not YK, TK blueprint interface. Do a for each loop for the array. From the array element, we want to find the one that is equal to our TK target. So we'll drag that out and hook that up like that. Drag this back a little bit. Add a branch. And when it is equal to this, then we'll drag off and hit our launch message. And plug that up like that. Oh, and set that we're not holding an actor and that we're not holding anymore. So now, pick him up, drop him, pick him up, chunk. Whoa! Okay, in the enemy blueprint, let's knock that down a little bit. I'll try 1,000. Jeez, he was gone. He was out of here. Okay, let's try that again. Maybe a little bit more than that, but that's better. Okay, maybe 10,000. Yeah. That's still a bit much, but it's not like it was. That's better. Okay. Alright, so the last thing we need to do is make sure that we can... Oh, I had a third one. Get out of here. Anyway, next thing we wanted to be able to do is pull it closer or push it away from us. So we'll right click and add an event for mouse wheel up. And when it's pressed, we will find out if the held object slot will get its location. We'll grab out our follow camera because we're going to compare their locations and make sure that they're not exceeding a distance from each other. So we'll get world location, get world location, and then we'll get distance vector. So this will compare one vector to another and find out the distance between it. So the float that it returns, we want to find out if it's less than however far you don't want it to go away. I'm going to say 750. If it's less than 750, then you can push it away. Otherwise, you can't. So from our event, I'm going to add a branch and hook that result to it. Then, kind of similar to a line trace, we will drag out our held object slot, get world location, and set world location. I'm going to drag this back a little bit. So it's kind of like doing a line trace. So we're going to grab out the forward vector of our held object, and we will add vector plus vector right here, and then we'll do a vector times float on the bottom. It's something small so that it's just incremental. I'm going to do 20. And if it's less than 750 away, then we will increase its distance. So check it out real quick. So now we can push it away up to that distance, but no further, which is what we want. Now we want to do basically the same thing with a mouse wheel down event. So basically what we can do is just copy this. So we'll Control C, Control V. We'll add a branch, and then we can copy all this too. Well, we don't need the less than. We're going to use a greater than this time for that one. So we'll paste that down here with a Control V, and off this we want to get greater than, float greater than float. So as long as it's greater than 200 or so, you'll be able to pull it closer to you. So I'll hook the pressed to there. And if it is, then we can delete we can set the world location, but we don't want to add to it. We want to minus vector this time, minus the same amount. So let's check that out real quick. So we can move it away, no further than there. We can pull it closer, no closer than there. Launch it, stack it, fling it, bop it. Now let's check you. I can move you away, I can pull you closer, drop you like a bad habit, or chunk you out of here. It got some distance out there. So, yeah, that's pretty much it. It seems complicated, but and I probably made it more complicated at some points. I'm sorry. I had a rough time trying to record this one. It was like 6 or 7 times I had to take because dogs would bark, my phone would go off, or just all kinds of stuff. Saws and hammers, but we got it. Yay. So, hope y'all enjoyed. I feel like there's something I'm forgetting, but that should be everything. Anyway, thanks for stopping by. Hope you enjoyed it, and hope I didn't make it too confusing. Bye.